Again, thanks for talking with Meeting Mics today, man. We really appreciate it.
Thank
We're
you.
going to
Thanks for
talk.
having me.
Yeah, we're going to talk about your stuff with Cheap Trick. We're going to talk about the new album that you got, and we'll cover all points in between. All right.
Sounds good.
So cool. Just to kind of get things rolling, you've been playing with Dad's band off and on for some time now. Can you kind of give us some background of maybe how that all, kind of came about, aside from your dad being in the group?
Yeah, well, 2017, I started playing with them. They asked me to play drums, actually. So Dax, the drummer, he was having his first kid with his wife, and they needed someone to fill in for a couple of weeks while he was home with her. And they asked me. So that was the first time they ever actually officially asked me to play with them. And that was in November of 2017. And those shows went great. And after that, they just kind of said, hey, would you want to stick around and be a touring member and sing background vocals and play guitar? So I've been doing that ever since December 2017.
All right. Now, thinking back when that all happened, you were playing drums. What type of prep did you sort of have to take yourself through, being that you sort of already had everything on drums down, and now all of a sudden it was going to be like, hey, can you do this too?
Well, I grew up around the music, so my preparation was, I guess, 25 years in the making. When I turned about 24, 25 is when they asked me to play with them. So I've been in it for a while, but I mean, I grew up as a little kid on the side of the stage at every Cheap Trick show that I could go to during the summers when I was off of school. So my preparation has been lifelong. It's kind of ingrained in me.
Sure. Now, were there ever any reservations or anything where like, I don't know if that's what I want to do?
Um, no, not really. I've always wanted to play music and be a musician and tour with a band. I just didn't know it was going to be with them. It was kind of unexpected, but I love it. They're my favorite bands, and I have a biased opinion, but growing up around that music, liking Cheap Trick's music opened my mind up to other types of music that I probably wouldn't have gotten into if it hadn't been for them. So
Sure. Now, how do you and your dad sort of go about balancing that work, sort of family relationship between you guys?
well, he's been on the road for 49 years. So, that's just his life, he half the year he's gone on the road and half the year he's home. So I've started to get used to that kind of lifestyle, but it still gets some get used to for sure. I mean, I definitely think that when I was a kid, I thought, oh, this looks so cool and fun, and this is great. And then you're older, and you're like, man, you're gonna miss your family at home and your dogs, and you're gonna miss out on some birthdays and some anniversaries and stuff like that. So it's hard, but we do as best as we can. When it's the summer times, we take the family out on the bus, when we're able to. So we try to make it work.
Cool. So let's talk about the solo album, maybe kind of how the idea for it came about, maybe, you know, how long you've been prepping to do it, or, stuff like things kind of like that.
Yeah, I've written songs since I was, in my teens. So it's been a lifelong kind of process for me. I love writing music, and I used to live in Nashville when I was a kid. Growing up about 21, 22, I moved to Nashville and just started writing music with people just to get practice in. And a lot of the songs that are on the record are from, around 2014, 2015 onward up till present day. So um, I got demos together that I thought sounded great. And then my dad sent some of the demos out to his friends to see what they thought about it. And Jack Douglas, who's one of my dad's lifelong musical friends, and he's worked with everyone from Cheap Trick to Aerosmith, the Patti Smith, to everyone, even Miles Davis. So he's worked with everyone, and yeah, he loved the demos and said, you should go record them, and I'm starting a record label up, soon, and I'd love to sign you once you get them recorded. So I went to my dad's friend's recording studio in upstate New York, Kenny Siegel, and he runs a studio called Old Soul Studios in the Catskills.
Mhm.
And I basically did all the basic tracks with him. I did drums, piano, bass, guitar, vocals, and I pretty much did all the backing tracks myself, and he engineered it. And it took us about 3 weeks to do that, and then another 3 weeks to do overdubs. And we hired some people to play strings and harp and some other overdubs on. So it was it really only took about 6 weeks to make the record, but it was laborious, and it was definitely fun.
Cool. Now, so did you kind of go into it with the idea that you were going to play all the instruments, or did that something that sort of happened more organically as the process went on?
It was the plan. It's a lot cheaper if you do it all yourself. So I figured I'll take a stab at it, and if it works out, it does. And if we need to hire some more people to come in and finish it, we can. But I had all the songs mapped out for a while, and the demos that existed before the record is pretty much what you hear on the record. It's just a different studio. So it definitely was a challenge. I mean, it took some courage to do all the drums, because it's not my first choice of instrument of the drums. It's kind of like the hardest thing to do, either live or recording. I just think I have a lot of respect for drummers. To keep the steady beat going is harder than you think. So it was hard, but it worked out great.
Awesome. So when it came down to sort of breaking down the tracks that or selecting the tracks that make up the record, how did you kind of go back and how, I guess, pick which ones were going to be on there, or what made them stand out? Because being that you were, when you write a song, it's something that you're really vested in, but then to not maybe include it on the record can be a hard decision, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. We had, I had over 30 songs that I was kind of playing with. So we dwindled that down to about 20. And then we started recording, and then we dwindled that down to about 15, and then to 11, the ones that you hear on the record. So there was a process in the months leading up to recording where we kind of were listening back and thought what would work best, what sounds best together. And Kenny, who engineered it and owns the studio at Old Souls, he really kind of helped me in that process, kind of dwindle down the tracks. But all the ones that didn't get used will be released on different records, and I got no shortage of material lying around, so it'll all be heard eventually.
Nice. Now that it's all done and everything, what are your thoughts of getting out there and performing it live with a full band?
Well, that's a challenge too, because the band I'm currently working with, they've been playing with each other for a while, but we've only done like about a half a dozen gigs together, and so we're still getting to know each other musically and personally. So that's kind of a tough thing to get going. But in the fall time, we're gonna have more gigs. Cheap Trick's out all summer. I'll be in Canada. But September and October, we'll be announcing some dates, and I'll be doing some opening gigs for some bands, as well as some one-off headliner gigs in the New York City area, and in LA and Chicago, and a bunch of other places. So it's been fun, but we're still getting used to each other, musically. So I can't wait to get into rehearsals when they all have time. The band I'm working with, they have their own project. It's called Boys Go to Jupiter.
Okay.
They're based out of the city. They're based out of the city in New York, and they're really talented. They kind of do their own indie music. They write their own music, and they're really talented people. And I'm excited for the future gigs.
Yeah. Now, how did you end up getting hooked up with those guys?
They're friendly with Jack Douglas, and so he kind of reached out to them and said, "Hey, I have this artist that is trying to do some gigs this year to support his first record," and they were all for it. They loved the record. They said they loved the songs, and so we just started from there, and kind of got to a point where we could play the entire record along with a couple of covers, and fill out an hour set. So so far so good.
Awesome. So I know you sort of touched on some of the other plans you have going on, and you said Cheap Trick's out during the summer. Maybe just touch on anything maybe we missed, or and also include best social media and all that kind of stuff, so we can keep up to date with everything.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you can look up anything that's going on with me. You can go to robintaylorzander.com, and all my socials, links, and to streaming and all that are there. Videos. We're going to be releasing some acoustic versions of the two singles, High and Low, and what am I to do? We're doing a lot of different kind of promotional stuff at the moment that'll be released at the end of July. So as well as if you go on to Confidential Records New York City.com, they have my merch and my record, my LP and CD for sale online. And I think that about covers it.
Awesome,
More
man.
shows will be announced. Yeah, more shows will be announced on those websites and my socials. My Instagram is RTZ, and Robin Taylor Zander on Facebook, and all that good stuff.
Awesome. Now, is there anything else going on with Cheap Trick the rest of the year outside of the summer dates that have been announced so far?
Yeah, so Cheap Trick, after they're done, it'll be around September. They'll take a break, and hopefully they'll be going into the studio around this fall. I think November is probably a safe bet. Nothing's solidified yet, but their 50th anniversary is next year, so they're going to have a pretty big tour. A lot of dates will be announced for that in the coming months, and they're going to be doing a new record, and hopefully some of my contributions get included in that record. So I'm pretty excited about that. I've never written with them before, but we're going to try it for the first time and see what happens and go from there.
Awesome.
So yeah, I know. Fingers crossed that I get at least one track, you know.
Well, I'm sure. I haven't seen you play with the band a couple times, man. I'm sure that energy and everything will transfer over to when you guys get in the studio, and I think they'll be using some of your stuff for sure.
Yeah, I hope so, man. We'll see.
But cool, Robin. Thanks, again for taking the time. I'm glad we could get the technical stuff squared away.
I really appreciate your patience, man, and I thanks for having me anytime.